Marks Hewitt.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'm grateful to the Honourable Member for Taunton and Wellington for securing this debate. And I think that my honourable friend, the member for Bournemouth West, has already surmised a lot of the excellent contributions from this side of the House already. So we all know that post office branches are essential for our local communities and the local economy. We know that, that's clear from the debate today. It saddens me to say that this government inherited a post office in such a precarious position. Now, having discussed this with senior post office staff and the Parliamentary Under-Secretary of State for Services, Small Businesses and Exports, I know the organisation is facing serious financial challenges, and I'm very grateful for the government's engagement with me, for the Minister's engagement with me on this issue. Now, obviously, this forms the backdrop for the announcement that the Post Office is considering the future of the remaining 115 directly managed branches, referenced countless times today, with a franchising model being considered for those branches. Now, I have to say, I remain especially concerned about the future of the Morley Post Office on Queen Street. Morley sits in the heart of my constituency. It's a town of around 50,000 people. It is one of the key locations that people come to for financial services and for shops. Now, this directly managed branch is vital for my constituents and those who rely on the services that it provides. And I have been looking for certainty that it will remain on the high street where it belongs. I know the strength of feeling from my constituents. Over 2,500 people have signed my petition to keep it open. It's absolutely clear that after the closure of many bank branches across Morley, this post office is a lifeline for those who need it. Now, the numbers back this up. It's not just my testimony. While other directly managed branches have seen a 34% drop in footfall since 2019 because of the pandemic, the Morley Post Office is only 3% down. We use our post office. And Madam Deputy Speaker, just a word on bank branches and banking hubs. I have been actively pursuing a banking hub for Morley Town Centre, especially with the recent news that NatWest is due to pull out of the town this year. NatWest even pointed to the post office on their way out and said, "Don't worry, you have that service there," despite the threat of closure. Now, I have been in touch with Link, one of the organisations that determines who gets banking hubs, and they tell me that Morley does not yet meet the criteria for a banking hub because we still have one branch left in Morley. And while I have many questions about that criteria, we will have to save them for another debate and another time. So while Morley does not currently meet Link's criteria, and while I continue to have those discussions with Link, we can't have a situation where my post office closes. Now, thankfully, Morley's post office continued operation will not prevent us from securing a banking hub in future. So there is no reason why we should not do everything in our power to keep this post office open, and that's exactly what I'm doing. Now, as I've stated, the branch is very much in demand. It's used by local businesses who trade on our high street. Business owners such as Castle Point, who actually own and operate Morley Market, have contacted me directly about their concerns about the branch closing. Post office research also shows that 3 in 10 SMEs use a post office once a week, and whether it's to post parcels to customers or to deposit their cash takings, losing this branch in particular, when it's surrounded by so many businesses in Morley, would make us all worse off. Now, I know the direction of travel for the post office is to move towards this franchising model that we've heard so much about today, and I do remain hopeful that a suitable postmaster will be found to take over the branch. But I'm also clear that the branch should remain on the high street. Having it in an accessible place in Morley Town Centre is very important for both residents and businesses, and I will continue to make that case as strongly as I can. That's why I've requested that those interested in taking over the franchise in Morley make contact with me. I'm keen to support their bids, assuming that they are in the best interests of Morley and the town centre. And finally, Madam Deputy Speaker, I'd like to ask the Minister today if there is any threat to the number of services that a directly managed branch can actually offer if they transition to a franchised branch. And very finally, Madam Deputy Speaker, I just want to reassure all of my communities in Leeds South West and Morley that I'm going to work tirelessly to ensure this branch remains open. It's crucial that the services the Post Office provides in Morley Town Centre remain there for many years to come.
If there are no further backbenchers wishing to speak, I shall call Clive Jones, the Liberal Democrat spokesperson. Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. I congratulate my honourable friend for Taunton and Wellington on securing this debate. The contributions throughout have been unified in highlighting that the post office is a focal part of our communities. They are a vital part of our society and our high streets, with millions of people depending on them every week. They are community hubs providing access to communication, banking and other vital services. This is particularly important for those with restricted access, such as older people, or those in more rural populations with little email connectivity. There are villages that fit that exact description in my constituency of Wokingham, such as Finchampstead, Swallowfield and Hurst. That is why I'm deeply concerned about the news that 115 branches of the post office may be closed, with around 1,000 jobs at risk of being lost, because it has the potential to not only increase social isolation for some of the most vulnerable groups in the UK. I'm especially concerned by the proposals that the post office are reviewing to replace their existing branches. Specifically, they are looking for alternatives to their wholly owned branches and are therefore considering franchise arrangements where a third party could take them on instead. This opens up lots of risks. In my constituency of Wokingham, the post office in Hurst was unexpectedly closed down a few weeks ago. It was located in a shop that many considered a pillar of the community. Through no fault of the post office, the tenants running the shop had to close their doors. Losing a post office can really harm a small village like Hurst, and their proposed solution that people should travel to Wokingham or Twyford to access services is simply not possible for all of the residents. Public transport links are limited, and those who rely on the post office are the least likely to be drivers. By having the post office estate reliant on third parties, they have no control over. There is the worrying potential that situations like that of Hurst will become increasingly commonplace. A future in which losing a local service once means that it is gone forever, and very, very few are replaced once they're gone. There is little chance of appeal, and it is a failure of government policy. This is especially relevant considering the potential loss of 500 W.H. Smith shops across the UK, many of which house post office branches in them, such as the one in Wokingham Town Centre. The High Street is struggling, and the government need to act urgently to turn this around. What steps is the government taking to make sure the post office is on a sustainable footing for the long term? Will the Minister commit to ensuring that none of the 115 post offices close until a consultation with each local community has been undertaken? Has the Minister met with representatives from the post office to draw up plans in case they lose hundreds of their sites due to W.H. Smith's financial issues? That said, it is reported in the BBC today that Ofcom has proposed cutting the delivery of the second-class letters to every other weekday and scrapping deliveries on Saturdays. This will harm services for millions of households and small businesses. Royal Mail executives should be working night and day to turn the company around and to fix the postal service. The new owners agreed to the existing delivery targets when they took over the company, and they should stick to them. I would appreciate if the Minister could address my points and offer reassurances that our communities will receive the great service that they deserve. Finally, post office branches provide a place to do banking for millions of people across the country, and this is the case in Wokingham. But another area of concern for me is the lack of resilience in our local financial services. The W.H. Smith located post office is in Wokingham and it's too small. and the staff are too busy with all of their other tasks. One constituent had to wait about 45 minutes to withdraw £15. This is why I and local campaigners like Lynn Forbes are really hoping that we can get a banking hub. However, our application has been declined. If WH Smith in Wokingham Town Centre was to close, our already limited options would be reduced further. Link, who provide the banking hubs, are encouraged within the current legislation to consider the protection of face-to-face banking, but it is not explicitly empowered to take into account when making a final decision on whether to establish a banking hub or not. Instead, they just focus on cash access. Will the Minister explain why the protection of face-to-face services isn't considered? And will he introduce further legislation to require the protection of face-to-face banking services?